All right, everybody. It's Tuesday, election day in a lot of places, including here in Virginia. It's November 7th. We're going to do a quick college basketball preview video for the day, go over some things for those of you who are using the algorithm, because I didn't talk about some of the columns yesterday that are important. So much shorter day today. There was 100 something games yesterday. Uh, we're still using last season stats for everything. Can't do anything about that. A lot of teams are playing the first game today, but yesterday ends up being 87 and 19. Pretty good, pretty decent day actually. All said and done. So a day like this is just so filled with games that it's just tough to look at everything because there's 106 of them. So on a day like Tuesday, where we have fewer games, take a look at what we can go over because it's much easier to read on a shorter day like this. Basically, it could be a day where every home team wins as you're browsing through this sheet. It's very possible. And also, where's the game that has the best value? And I'll talk about how it appears to be North Texas at home against Northern Iowa. And there's also some value with Baylor at home against Auburn. So let's quickly look through everything as you're glancing. If you play every single home team, which would include San Jose and LaSalle instead of UC Irvine and Drexel, there's a chance that every home team wins today. That's probably what I would do if I did one parlay for $1 or something. I would take all of those teams. You may not win them all, but it's possible given this list. All these teams have better strength of schedules, except down here, this Irvine and Drexel game, and they're away. And even though you can see that the odds makers favor these two teams as well, but if you put a 5% bump on this game, both those teams are going off the list. 5% home bump, and it ends up end up being all your team, everybody who's home. It's pretty crazy. But that is very possible. Now, something else I want to talk about is a lot of these columns over here to the right. There's some really interesting columns that you can go over that are going to help you identify teams that you want to pick. All right, we have this column over here for spread cover plus, and this games played stuff is for last year's games played, so we're not even going to worry about it because all last season, but it'll become more relevant this season. Yeah, this line value is comparing what the implied line is that the algorithm's calculating to what the actual money line is. And you can see that there's a positive 267 here for this North Texas game. It's saying, the line should be much worse, basically, and you get the minus 188. So that's the number one pick when it comes to line value. And the second pick is Baylor. We could sort this stuff by more sort options, descending by line value. And you'll see that they end up popping to the top right here. There's only two of them that what would be called value picks, meaning the algorithm's determined line or implied line is is worse than what the actual money line is. And those are things I started tracking last year. Like when there's a value pick, is that good? Do they win? Do they make money? Because they're supposedly the line is better than what the market line should be. So those are some things to look at when you're looking at the list here. And what else do we care about? We've got over-unders and projected total points and what over-unders are. There's over-under differential. So like when there's a big disparity between our projections and what the actual over-under is, that occurs in a game like this with Albany and Massachusetts. We think that there's going to be 138 points. Odds makers think there's going to be 148 points. So we think that it will be an under in this game. And the opposite, other way around, for the San Jose State Irvine game, we think there could be 143 points, and the odds makers are picking 128. So we think there's going to be a lot more. So we take the over in something like that game. I noticed yesterday that our points were not great. It looks like, and our spreads were not, going against the spread was not great either. We only won 42% of the games against the spread yesterday, and we only won 45% of the games when it came to over under. And we show you what that looks like and how we know that. So this is calculating what we think the actual what we thought the game was going to have when it comes to would a team cover the spread, and did they cover the spread? And a lot of these games where the spread is like 25 points, 28 points, 31 points, that kind of stuff, I don't think it's you cannot beat the spread long term with numbers like that. Teams do not play to win by 30 points. They play to win games. So I wouldn't even worry about, I never take games like this. Like I never take a team minus 30 points. It's just like, what are you going to do? When the spread is a lot closer, we can see how we did on games like that. Like you can filter for that. You can say, all right, well, when the spread was, like, I'll show you a cool way to do that is, let's open up a slicer. If you create a slicer here, insert slicer for spread, all right? What happens is all the different spreads that were available for the day kind of show up in this slicer here. And I would say that there's so many of them on here. This is, there were 100 games. You see all these different spread numbers. Like, remember when it's minus 30, minus something like that? Like that's just ridiculous. Like you can't choose games like this. So I'd say don't take any team. When this, we're just talking about spreads where the spread was, let's say, between -5 and 5 points, games that the odds makers had as being rather close. We're just going to look at those games. There were 20 of those games, and we were 10-10 apparently on the spread in games like that. Are our margins all positive? Yes, they are. Yep. So yeah, and in those games, our over unders were better also. So that's an interesting thing to look at. Let's actually go between -10 and 10-point spreads that were offered. We went 23 and 20, although we went only 19 and 24 on the over unders though. But this is just an interesting way. You see how these are better? It means the algorithm was better at predicting winners of games, or was better predicting against the spread when the spread was not something ridiculous. Like when the spread was between -30 and -16, we're 15 and 28 on those spreads, right? Meaning games that were just completely insane and one team was heavily favored over the other. We were terrible at picking those. It kind of makes sense. So it's just something to look at, because it's helpful to know that, how does it do in games that have really big or really small spreads. So anyway, lot going on. If you want to purchase a copy, it's $100. You get a couple more days of emails from me as we start to incorporate current season stats. But as for today, algorithm at a 5% bump is recommending taking every single home team. That's right. 14 picks. And it's pretty heavily recommending value-wise North Texas and Baylor. But notice the strength of schedule on Baylor is only a +1. That's the lowest, even though it's a strength of schedule that's in Baylor's favor. That's the one that's the closest out of all of them. And you can expect on a day like this that of these 14 teams, you can smell that the day is going to be 12-2 or better. Probably about 13-1 is what I'm guessing will happen today. So we'll see how it goes. But that is the update for Tuesday, November 7th. Good luck. May all your picks be winning. May all the home teams be winning.